Diddle dee hidely die do humbity dee lum diddle dee die do humbity diddle dee hidely die do humbity dee lum die. Where are we the day, boys and girls?
Alloa Tower.
Where about, William?
Alloa Tower.
Alloa Tower. Alloa Tower. That's right. And at the moment, we're just coming down the new walkway. So the route of the Queen's Baton Relay in 2014. Oh, I didn't realise it come down here. And then we've got a wee one here for the Rotary Club. Reversing safety, very nice. Oh, here, Chloe, we've got the Girl Guides one here. And what else have we got? Lots and lots of them, haven't we? The Golden Jubilee in 2002. Now, who used to live in this castle, Chloe?
Don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah.
It's somebody that we've talked about before. A man named the Earl of... The Earl of where? The Earl of Mar. Now, he was the man that built Gartmore Dam, had the silver mines and did lots of other things. So he lived from 1675 to 1732 and he was a polymath. Now, we've got someone with us today that used to work for some of the Earl of Mar. Don't we, Elaine?
Yes, I did.
Did you? And how long did you work with them for?
Oh, I worked with them for 11 and a half years.
11 and a half years. So the Earl of Mar is a long title that's been here since, it must be at least the 11th century, I would say. Now here, we've got the tower. Let's just have a wee look at it here. Oh, look at how tall it is. Now, Alloa Tower is a 4-storey, 68-foot tall building, excluding the attic at the top. Now, it's made from coursed rubble. What do you think coursed rubble is, Chloe? Can you tell us?
Sort of stone.
Well, it's a sort of stone that's just kind of not, maybe just kind of cut roughly into shape. Because look at the edge of them here. What are they like? Are they nice and smooth? No, they're awfully bumpy, aren't they? Now, the building has been rebuilt throughout its time because it's an old medieval building, isn't it? And the inside still has some medieval features. What's your question, son?
Does the Earl of Mar still stay here?
No, he doesn't live here anymore. It's looked after by something called the National Trust now, which is what a lot of these buildings are looked after. So here's a wee picture of it up here. What can you see there? Can you read that one at the top there for us, William? The prospect
of the house and of the town of Alloa by John Slezer.
So this is in 1693. So this is when John Erskine, the 6th Earl of Mar, would have lived here, wasn't it? Now, in some of the other videos we've done, we've talked about the Danes coming and invading. And what did they use to get all the way up here? How did they get here?
Longboats.
Longboats, that's right, William, well done. And they came up the River Forth. So this was originally built as part of the fortifications to stop any more invasions or any more bandits coming up the Forth and raiding all the lands about here. What do you think of that? Pretty cool. You like that? Now, the 19th century, so several 19th century works date the tower to 1223. So, William, can we employ your mathematics skills here, please? 1223. How long ago was that?
798 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
That was super quick. I didn't even hear you do a calculation.
I don't need to do it.
You don't need to do it?
It's only 2 away.
Oh, so it's only 2 away, so it's nice and easy.
Well, yeah. But 800, and that's 2023. Then you add subtract the 2, and you get 798 years.
That's right. So back then, there was also a cellar here. And what do you think they used this cellar for?
Wine, beer.
No, well, maybe at one point, but what do you think they first used it for?
Keeping stuff.
Keeping people.
Oh.
It was a pit prison. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine getting stuck in the bottom of here? What do you think of that? Now, in the mid 14th century, they built a bit more onto it. So they added a great hall and another 3 stories. And then in the 15th century, they built it up to what it is now with the 4th and 5th floor. Now, I wonder about these trees. What do you think about these trees? Do you think they've been here just as long?
No, I think they've been about like 400 years.
I think so. I don't think these look like 800-year-old trees, do they?
And if there was 1 or 2, they'd probably be dying right now.
Now, there's a bit here that's John Erskine had built a mansion onto the back of the tower, or an annex, in 1710. But that was burnt down in 1800 and then rebuilt by George Angus in 1834. And then eventually demolished by the 9th Earl in 1868.
Dad, I've got a bit of a question.
What's your question? Tell
Why
me.
in the medieval times and the Dark Ages did they have a habit of burning and destroying things?
Well, this is what we're actually going to talk about. So there was a lot of religious animosity in Scotland. So this is why I think a lot of these places would get burnt down. Now, in February 1497, the gardener of Alloa brought trees to Stirling Castle. So this was quite a big thing back then. So he brought the trees from Alloa up to Stirling. Then Margaret Tudor met the Chancellor, James Beaton, here on the 11th of June 1524 to discuss transferring power from Regent Albany to who? Who became the King of Scotland? James the
6th.
So that he was the young prince, wasn't he?
Oh my goodness.
He was just a little boy, so they had to come here and talk about where the power was going. So this was really where it was all decided, wasn't it?
That means that there were 6 Jameses in the span of 100 years.
Yes, there was lots and lots of Jameses. It's still quite a popular name today, isn't it?
Usually it'll be about like, if it was to be that many Jameses, it'll probably be like 200, maybe 300 years.
Aye, that's right.
Why 6 Jameses in under 100 years?
Well, it was a busy time in Scotland, I think. Now, there was another woman called Mary Queen of Scots who also came here. Do you know who she was?
Ruthless?
She was quite famous. She was quite ruthless. I think all of the royals were renowned for their ruthlessness, don't you think? Now, in December of 1592, the widower John Erskine married Mary Stuart, the daughter of Esme Stuart, the first Duke of Lennox. And the wedding celebrations were held right here at Alloa Tower.
Oh yeah,
But it wasn't the happy wedding that everyone hoped for. But, so James VI, there's your friend you were just talking about, and Anne of Denmark, his wife, gave the bride clothes, and there was a mask in costume which Anne performed. Do you know what a mask was?
it means heisting.
Well, yes, but I think back then what they used to do is they would have mask parties.
Oh,
So have you seen that on the TV before? They put a wee mask on and they would talk or dance about, and that was their way of giving a present at the wedding. Now, Anne of Denmark herself performed dressed in silk taffeta and gold talk. Do you know what silk taffeta is, Elaine? Very nice, eh? Right, so when we come just down to this side, we'll have a wee look at the rest of what's left of the grounds, because this is about the only part that's even left in Alloa. The rest of it's all been built on, hasn't it?
Very nice.
Now, the festivities were cut short when John Carmichael and Sir George Home arrived from Edinburgh with news of a crisis caused by the discovery of the Spanish blanks. Have you ever heard of the Spanish blanks before, anyone?
I've heard of the Spanish Armada, but I'm not...
Well, the Spanish Armada is part of this story, William. Well done. Now, the Spanish blanks was an alleged plot, a pro-Spanish Catholic plot in 1592. A number of letters were discovered which included blank sheets of paper signed by prominent nobles. Yes,
Weird.
it is a bit weird because you think, what would a blank bit of paper mean? Now, the Spanish Armada
It's very
had,
small.
well, they had failed in their attempt to conquer England in 1588. So the undeclared Anglo-Spanish War continued, and the kingdom of James VI was divided over religion, despite a formal ascendancy of the Church of Scotland at this time in a Presbyterian forum. So what this meant basically was that the Scottish nobility were looking like they had sympathies towards the Catholic Spanish cause. So this was obviously quite a big problem in Scotland, who had a very different type of church at that time. Now, James VI, while the king was working to assert administrative and political control of the country against the factional and religious strife, a Jesuit mission concerned with Scotland included William Crichton and Robert Abercrombie, and it looked to help Spain to further their aims of the counter-reformation in Britain. So this was a massive plot that could have changed the course of history in Scotland.
For the best or the worst?
What's that, sorry?
For the better or the worst?
Well, who knows? Who knows? Because it didn't actually succeed. But what it did do was make things quite difficult for the king, because he was trying to unite all the people and get everyone on the same page, but obviously that wasn't going to happen. Now, the minister of Paisley was sent to arrest a man named George Kerr. He was about to set sail for Spain and carried all the incriminating correspondence from the king and his nobles. Now, he was caught on the Isle of Cumbrae. Have you ever heard of that one, Chloe?
No.
Do you know where that might be?
Scotland?
It's in Scotland. It's out on the west coast. Now, in his boat, the Spanish blanks were found within a chest with other documents as well. And these were signed before members of the Catholic nobility of Scotland and were otherwise left to be filled in. So on the wedding day, the king rode from here at the tower, just over there, back to Edinburgh to decide what to do about this plot. Will we walk across the grass here? Now, when he went to Edinburgh, he spoke to somebody that was very important, named Robert Bruce. Have we heard of him before? Well, we've all heard of Robert Bruce. Now, there was lots and lots of different Robert Bruces, so this is maybe not the one that we all know quite well, but there are a number of them that are very, very famous. Now, so basically Robert Bruce explained his understanding of the situation to the king. And Kerr and the letters were taken to Edinburgh and examined by the Privy Council. Do you know who the Privy Council were?
Where they like
Come over here, because we can't hear you way over there.
Where they like a second in line council?
So exactly, that's exactly what it was. So basically, so they kind of helped make decisions on what was happening in the country, didn't they?
So they're basically second to the
Aye,
and council.
that's right, aye. So on the 2nd of January, 1593, under torture, Kerr said that the blanks were to be filled in by Crichton to forward a Spanish invasion of Scotland.
Spanish invasion?
A Spanish invasion, yes, because they had failed to get to attack England or get into England when their invasion. Tell me
I'm
something.
a bit confused how they didn't manage to do that, because they were so rich after invading into the Aztecs and stuff.
Well, that's a story for another day, I think, William. We'll have to tell that one too. Now, the problem for James VI was that Kerr also had a copy of a position paper by the king. So this is a bit of paper that was written about the king, about the benefits to him of siding with the Spanish. Oh my goodness me. So basically what it meant was that the king knew all about the plot and was actually maybe quite happy to go along with it.
Well, yeah, was Scotland a fan of England but in that time?
Well, I'm sure there was disagreements, but yes, there was a differing opinion in religion between the nobility and the poor people. So the nobility favoured the Spanish side, whereas the people of Scotland maybe favoured the other side for a while. What do you think? Now, so there was a bit of paper written by the king on possible advantages to him in accepting Spanish rule. The signatures were given a date to come and explain themselves, and when this passed, Patrick Gordon of Auchendoun went to ground in the Highlands of Scotland. So this is one of the nobles who had signed this Spanish blank. And they were told to come down and explain themselves why they had went along with this plot. And on the road they explained that the blanks were related to the support for the Jesuit cause. So basically everyone admitted to what was going on, it was all written down and everyone could see. Now an official account of the plot appeared in 1593. The perceptions of James VI changed after the discoveries, as some assumed the king himself had approved the dealings with Spain and a slackness in anti-Catholic measures. And all of this transpired right here at Alloa House.
But I've got another question.
What's your other question?
So, you know how Spain has like a place right next to it called Gibraltar?
Spain's got a place right now. Aye, that's right.
Did this sign of invasion affect Gibraltar?
I don't know about that. That's something that we'll have to look up when we get home, I think. What do you think?
Gibraltar is an English territory.
That's right, it still is today, isn't it? But I think that's a whole other story entirely, eh?
The Spanish War, I think.
The Spanish War. Right, well we say goodbye, boys and girls!
Goodbye.